What's up, Hokie Nation? Today is the day we're here to unveil the new Tech Sideline Podcast set here on this Wednesday morning. Alongside our founder and general manager, Mr. Will Stewart, our director of media, Mr. Nick Brown, I am Carter Hill. Will, welcome in. This is phenomenal. I got to start with this. First off, congratulations. This is awesome.
Thank you.
Why'd you do this? Old set was awesome, but this is really sick. So why'd you do this?
Man, there are many reasons why we did this. In no particular order, okay? We needed to expand our capability on the podcast set. We needed to specifically be able to patch in guests remotely. That's one thing we've never been able to do. In order to be on the Tech Sideline podcast, you had to come in here and sit in the chair. And that's not easy it's actually not easy for a lot of the guests we wanted to have.
Sure.
Within Blacksburg.
Yeah.
Never mind somebody who's outside of Blacksburg. There have been a number of times where we've wanted to talk to people outside of Blacksburg, and you just can't do it because we couldn't patch them in remotely. So we want to expand our capability in that area. We wanted to have, Nick, if you can show on the big camera, camera 5, we wanted to have a central display area that we could use to put things up there and speak to it. And then we also wanted something that was just... One of the big things about this new set is how much larger it is. The footprint of the old set was 96 square feet, and even that had a couple of angled walls in it, so it was less than 96 square feet. And the footprint of this set is exactly twice as big. It's 192 square feet. So we just felt like we needed more room. You know, we bring some big fellas in here. You know,
Eric Macklin across the way,
man. Yeah. Kamari Copeland's been in here. Justin Mutz, 6'7". Some large individuals come in here, and we wanted to have more room for them. So those are the primary drivers from a functional standpoint. But I'm just a believer that you need to keep doing better and improving and changing. And we'd had that set for 6 years. It had been a long time.
When did you decide that you wanted to make the switch? I think this was a vision of yours for a while, but when did you make the decision? I know you hired Nick last summer, but when did you make this decision to do this?
Well, that's a good point, because I thought about that. And, we hired Nick as full-time director of media. Director of media. I got to say media relations. Director of media last summer, July of 2024. And that's when I started seeing the stuff that Nick was doing with the podcast, I thought we need to give him a bigger sandbox with more toys in it, So it was time.
Yeah.
And we also had the money, Tech Sideline's not swimming in dough, but, when we redo the set like this, it runs us about $20,000. That's what the original set costs. And that's about what this one costs in terms of materials and time and consulting fees and that sort of thing. So that's also something that enters into it. Do you have the funds to do it?
Yeah. So you mentioned the toys.
Yeah.
What do we have here?
Yeah.
What toys does Nick have to play in the sandbox?
Yeah.
Because there's a lot going on around this set.
Oh, one thing I left out is these chairs are way more comfortable than the old chairs.
They're so much more comfortable. Yes, they're awesome.
Yeah. So the old chairs were from... I can't remember the name of the place. I'm sorry, the name escapes me, but Big Lots.
They closed, didn't they?
Nick reminded me it was Big Lots. And it was so funny because when we first built the first set and we were looking for furniture for it, my wife is like, go buy Big Lots. And I'm like, you got to be kidding me. And pretty much every piece of furniture we had on that old podcast set came from Big Lots, including the chairs, which I think I paid $100 or $150 for, and they were not comfortable. So you'd sit down in them, you'd be like, oh, this is okay. And then 20 minutes later, you're like, man, this is not good.
Yeah.
So I wanted better chairs, and we went to Virginia Furniture Market and ponied up. These are about $700 a piece. So the chairs are one of the big differences. They're much more comfortable. And so I already talked about that TV set there in the middle, which will be kind of the focal point of the 4 people sitting here, when we want it to be. So Nick will be able to do things like put graphics up there at the same time that they're showing up on the screen for the viewers. And we'll be able to sit here, whoever is on the set, and turn our chairs. These chairs also do something the old chairs didn't do.
Maneuver.
And that's swivel.
Yeah.
They don't rock. They just swivel. So you can turn and you can look at it and talk about it. So that's kind of cool. And we are also building into this set the ability to patch people in remotely. So when we have Mike Young on from his office and he's on his laptop, in anybody who is national. Like one of my dreams is to pick a random person, Seth Greenberg.
Yeah.
Would love to have Seth Greenberg on the Tech Sideline podcast. We'll be able to turn and see that person on that screen, and we're going to have earpieces where we can hear them. So we'll be able to talk to them through these regular mics, and, you know, just a kind of a level up as far as being able to work people in. You know, as far as anything else, it's just a different looking set. You know, we wanted to go with a sleeker, more modern design. And we certainly got that. You know, if you like the old basement feel, this one's going to take a little bit getting used to for you.
I said it to you the other day. It is just a completely different vibe on set.
Yeah.
You feel like you're on a stage.
Yeah.
With the lighting and the backdrop and the LEDs and the TVs. The old set was awesome. And you're right. It was a basement feel. Man cave type feel is what people... I remember, like, I'd go to a game, and every now and then, you know, people are very, very kind. They watch Tech Sideline and the Tech Sideline podcast, and they're like... So one time I remember I was at a football game and somebody asked whose basement it was in. I was like, no, it's at the Corporate Research Center.
It's like you've been watching the ACC Network and Mark Packer.
Yes. So I like the old vibe, but this is definitely cool too. So
yeah, and you know, as I mentioned, you know, we can also put 4 people on set at once here. We can only put 3 people on set in the old one. And so when we first started doing the podcast, excuse me, it was me, Evan, and Chris, and that was it. You only needed room for 3 people. Then we added the 4th chair, and then we added David Cunningham, and then we added Andy Bitter. So we suddenly have a need for being able to fit more than 3 people on the stage, on the set. And then, of course, when we started bringing athletes in, you started to really realize how tight it was. And, you know, frankly, another thing that I like about this new set is when somebody walks in that door over there and they see it, it's impressive.
yeah.
People used to walk into the room with the old set, and sometimes they'd go, wow. But other times they'd just kind of look at it like, what am I looking at here?
Yeah.
I don't think there'll be any of that with this new one. People will walk in the door, and it'll look professional and polished and very sleek and modern.
So take us through the last 2 months. Today is August 13th. I went back and looked. Construction for this set started on June 3rd.
June 3rd.
And that was the day we started ripping out really stuff from the old set. I mean, that's how it started. We were ripping out stuff from the old set, taking everything out. It's still out in the main room out there. Yeah. So, and then probably within 2 weeks, we started the actual construction. Then Nick gets married, so there's that wrench and things too. Yeah. So, not that we weren't so happy for Nick getting married. I should preface it with that. But yeah, so interesting 2 months. So kind of take us through the last 2 months.
Yeah. We had a vision for what we wanted. Not everything was nailed down. The original vision was I wanted 3 televisions. I wanted one over there, one in the middle, and one on that side. I'm not sure what I thought I was going to do with all those TVs. And actually, let me back up a little bit more than that. That Tech Sideline logo that is behind you, my original vision for this set was to have that be the focal point. That's where the television was going to be, where you patched people in or you looked at stats and graphics. So we started to build, and we put the floor down. And before we even started putting the walls up, we brought the chairs in and we set them down, and I realized, wow, there's really no room over there. It made it really unbalanced. So that's when we decided to go to this and make this television here the focal point, and that balanced the set out. And then that became an accent wall where you just throw up some hooky stone graphics and hang the Tech Sideline logo, and I think that looks really cool. So that was part of the process, and that was right after we laid the floor out. We built the floor. And then we started building the walls, and you guys are going to see here in a minute a time-lapse video. And it's actually a pretty long video, even though it's sped way up. This is a lot of work.
Yeah.
It's a lot of building of walls and then putting up paneling and then putting the acoustic panels over the paneling and then putting these cool LED strips that you see here. And we've been consulting along the way with a company called Red Velocity in Roanoke. And Red Velocity does audio video production and commercials for companies and things like that. And the reason I found out about Red Velocity is that they did signing day for Virginia Tech Athletics, not this most recent year, but the year before. And they displayed the same type of capability of being able to patch people in remotely. a lot. So I'm like, this is a company that can do the things we're going to need.
Yeah.
So I started reaching out to them, Steve Mason and his guys. And so they came in and, it's funny, we had a lot of discussions with them, but they were all abstract until we finally got this thing built. And they were in here literally yesterday hanging lights because they have the knowledge of the lighting. And Nick and I just sat back and just watched them work, pointing this light this way and turning this one up and this one down and getting the shading and the shadowing right. And they're also helping us with the technology to patch people in. So I wanted to give them a shout out. That was a big part of the process. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is this is not the podcast set in its final form. Yep. I mean, it's ready. We don't quite have the capability to patch people in yet. We need to buy a couple more pieces of gear to do that. If you look around, it's funny, yesterday when we were doing the lighting, we ran out of lights. So Nick, I want you to walk through the different chairs. So do Carter's. There's Carter. Looks great, right? Very well lit. Now you put it on me. Looks great, very well lit. Go over there to that chair, which is empty, but that's really well lit too. Now go over to the other one. Wah, wah, wah. You get some sad trombone there, and that just doesn't look good. And that's because we ran out of lights, So it's funny. We're going to do our first podcast tomorrow with 4 guys up here, and somebody sitting in that chair is going to get the short end of the stick. So it's still a work in progress. Oh, and Nick, if you want to put on camera 5, we're going to have a table in the middle of the floor that after we're done recording this, we're going to go out and buy that table. So the table isn't even there yet. So put the camera back on me, Nick.
Some of those home department stores in Christiansburg love you guys. You guys are there like twice a week.
We're literally taking the truck out and getting it today. It's not too bad in this view, but in the corner that runs behind me, there's just a lot of blank wall space. So we want to put some things of visual interest there. If you can go to the dark chair for a second, Nick, that portal behind that chair, it looks much brighter in person, so we need to put something in there. We need to light it up a little bit. So this is all stuff that's going to be ongoing. And it was just like that for the old set. The old set was not, okay, you can come back to us now, Nick. The old set wasn't in its final form at first either. We were very much flying by the seat of our pants and just doing lights and things like that as we went along. So I'm wanting to make sure to get that in there, that it's going to, as good as it looks, it's going to continue to improve and get better.
For the football podcast this fall, I hate to put you on the spot, but do you know how everybody's going to sit? I know Nick had mentioned the host is going to be here because this is mic number 1.
Yeah.
Do we know how everybody else is going to sit? Because typically it was, across the way, senior staff writer Andy Bitter, to our right lead analyst columnist Chris Coleman, and the 4th chair was David Cunningham. Now, to your point, there are 3 chairs on set. Do we know how everybody's going to sit for the football podcast?
So the first thing we'll do, Chris Coleman always wears a hat. So we'll put him in that chair, we'll put him in this chair and see how the lighting works with the Chris Coleman hat. And beyond that, no, I don't really have any concerns or considerations. I wanted to experiment with the mic stands that you see on the floor, and I like them. I think they're going to work out well.
I think just to go to content for a minute, what I am most happy about when it comes to the audio and video content for TechSideline.com this summer, and I think Nick can attest to this, is despite this being a major construction project, we still put out podcasts fairly regularly for the summertime.
Sort of.
I mean, like June, we did the Avdallas podcast, which, by the way, was me, Chris, and David sitting in the old chairs on the foundation for the new set when it smelled like Lowe's in here in mid-June. And then we did, then we went to ACC kickoff and we did plenty of stuff down in Charlotte, came back, we did the recap for that. You guys did the other one last week when I was at the beach, and then tomorrow we'll ramp back up again when it comes to the video podcast. So I do think we didn't really take a step back when it comes to the audio video content for the summertime while the set was being redone too.
In terms of quantity, probably, I think at one point we went 5 weeks without doing a podcast.
Sure.
Which is a long time. But we wanted to get this set to where we could do one of our regular podcasts. And actually, the first one of those we do, we're going to have the graphics up there, so that'll be a level above what we've done, not just a new set. Yeah, we were able to do some, but I think we would have done more if we'd had a fully functioning set.
Yeah, for sure. Any interesting stories when it comes to building the set? I know we were here for quite a few Well, I had a good time building it with you when Nick was gone too. We had some good conversations those days.
Yeah, I don't think you'll see any comedy on the time-lapse video. There were a couple times where things were in danger of falling over, but we caught them in time.
Yeah.
And you'll notice in the time-lapse video, there sure is a lot of standing around and sitting around while it was under construction. We had Katie Adams come in and visit one day.
Yeah, she did.
Katie stood over there. How long did she talk to us?
She's probably here for an hour and a half, 2 hours. It was a long time, yeah.
And I thought we were recording that so everybody could get to see Katie again, but we haven't been able to find the video. So there's that. But no, not really any hilarious or entertaining stories. It was just a lot of work.
Yeah.
And really appreciate all the work that you put in and that Nick put in. And yeah, it's funny. Andy Bitter walks in here and he's like, "Who are you getting to do this?" And I'm like, "Well, Andy, we're doing it."
Yeah.
He goes, "Really?" So
yeah.
This is all homegrown, folks, except for the hanging of the lights. We did it all. Okay, probably one slightly interesting twist was we very carefully measured the holes in the walls for the televisions. So I knew that I had holes that were 5 feet wide and 36 inches high. And I knew the dimensions of these TVs, which do sit on their feet. They're not wall mounted. You're not allowed to drill holes in the walls here at the Corporate Research Center, and the studs are metal anyway.
Yep.
So you can't mount a television on a TV mount. So yeah, they're sitting in their holes on their feet. But the thing I didn't account for is we trimmed out those holes so that 36 inches turned into something that was too small for the televisions to go into. So we had to go in and pull out the top boards and paint that so you couldn't tell. And the TVs went in like this when they got placed. That was the only twist. We didn't really run into a whole lot of issues that were hard to overcome. My wife came in one day and she's looking around and she's like, "You need to put panels in the bottoms of the walls so you can get to the electrical outlets." And I was like, "Well, thank you. That's a good suggestion."
Yeah.
So you can't really see it, but there are panels that you can pop at the bottom of the walls to get to the electrical outlets. Now, that said, there's almost nothing plugged in these walls, behind these walls. Everything goes out to the exterior of the set and is all plugged in there. So we can just walk in and hit a couple switches and turn the lights and everything off and on.
So the first podcast on the new set is tomorrow as Virginia Tech continues its fall camp. Are you on for that tomorrow, Will?
I am not on. For me to be on, we'd have to have a fifth chair up here.
Oh, true. That's a good point. That's a good point. You mentioned the time lapse. We're going to go ahead and cut to that. I don't know how long it's going to be, but this is literally what it looked like to build this podcast set from June 3rd to August 13th. So sit back, relax, enjoy this. You're going to see a whole lot of fun take place, and it was a whole lot of fun to do. So appreciate everybody tuning in, and we'll talk to you tomorrow for the Tech Sideline Podcast.